Good evening, dear friends. Hope you're all doing well, having a great day, and a good Chodesh. Today's Rosh Chodesh, the second day of Rosh Chodesh, where we welcome today a brand new month, the month of Iyar. So let us do today's mitzvah. We continue learning the same mitzvah as yesterday. The Torah says, Al Yetze Ish Min Kaimai. No man shall leave his place b'yom HaShabbos, on the day of Shabbos. So what does that mean? Come our sages and teach that what this means is that wherever a Jew is at the very beginning of Shabbos, they have to remain in that location. And what that really means is that in the city, you have to stay in your city on Shabbos. Not allowed to travel outside of the city. So how much are you allowed to leave the city? So here is a very interesting thing. The Torah does not say the exact amount, but our sages tell us like this, that according to a biblical law from the Torah, the amount that you're not allowed to leave your city, or the amount that you're allowed to leave your city, is up to 24,000 amma, which roughly comes out to, if we're going to just round out the numbers, 36,000 feet, which is something around like between 6 and 7 miles. So you have quite a distance outside of the city limits, outside of the last house. That's where you count from. From the last house at the edge of the city, you count that amount. But come our sages, and our sages instituted, this is a very interesting example of where the sages came, and were much stricter than what the Torah allows us to do. So the Chachamim come, and they say, no, you're only allowed to go up to 2,000 amma, which is significantly less, right? That's a much smaller allotment of space. 2,000 amma is about 3,000 feet. That's half a mile. And they say you're only allowed to go that distance outside of the city limits on Shabbos. So this is a very interesting example of where we have the situation of where the Torah says one thing, and the sages used their powers that the Torah gave them to institute safeguards around Torah law, and they said, no, only up to 2,000 feet. Now, why did the Chachamim, why did our sages go and give such an extreme reduction of how far you're allowed to travel? Okay, if you would like, you're able to go up, look in the laws of the Rambam, and look in the Gemara, where it goes through all the laws and all the specifics of the evolution of this mitzvah. But let's get back to the idea that this is the mitzvah, that no man shall leave his place on Shabbos. And it's a very practical law, which has very real ramifications of, for example, are you allowed to leave one city? Am I allowed to walk on Shabbos or on Yom Kippur from Bloomfield to the city of Birmingham? I'm leaving my city. And let's say if I go even past that, let's say, I don't know, let's say I pass Birmingham and I go into the next city. What's the next city after that? Troy. Am I allowed to do that? These two cities touch each other. There's no even clear distinction between them besides a sign. So am I allowed to do that? Am I violating this mitzvah of Tchum Shabbos, of not leaving the city limits? And the answer is that the halacha is that as long as there are two houses that are within 140 amma, which is something about 200 feet, as long as there's not 200 feet between the two houses, then the two houses join together and continue the city. So even if officially you're leaving one township and you're entering into a new township, but if there's two houses that come together within 200 feet roughly, you're okay. Then halachically, the city continues until you have a break of a house, and there's 140 amma roughly, and that's that. But in other communities, like in Chicago, some of the suburbs of Chicago, where there is a little bit of a distance between some of the cities, even between Manhattan and Brooklyn, there's a whole, Manhattan is an island. So is Manhattan considered one city with Brooklyn? This is where modern day halachic discussion becomes very, very relevant of how do we apply this mitzvah. So that's just a fun fact that there's a lot of interesting discussion practically. Is a Jew allowed to walk from Brooklyn into Manhattan, cross the Brooklyn Bridge, cross the Williamsburg Bridge? Is a Jew allowed to go from Brooklyn to the Bronx and cross that bridge, whatever that, from Queens to Bronx? Are you allowed to do that? And this is where the details of the mitzvah become pretty complex and very precise, and there's a lot going on over here. So, in any case, gave you a lot of information about today's mitzvah. That's what we got for today's mitzvah, and we'll see you all soon for our next mitzvah. Take care, everybody.